that's the crazy thing about the music scene there is it's like somebody gets a little bit of a rub somewhere, and they're off to Austin, Dallas, Nashville, like whatever it is, and it's like, I mean, you could put an infrastructure in Waco. Like Waco's literally halfway between Dallas and Austin, and it's right on that I-35 corridor. That anytime anybody calls me and says, "Hey, I want to book a tour in Texas. What's your advice?" It's like, if you're flying to Dallas, travel from Dallas as far south as I-35 will take you, and just hit up every semi-major city you can.
Yeah.
And you'll probably book out for, what would you say, like a week or two?
Yeah. Well, I think that's the problem. And when people underestimate, if they've never driven in Texas, they don't. Like from Chicago, when we tour up into Chicago and Minneapolis, and we'd hit like Minneapolis and St. Paul, and there's like small market radio stations and NPR stations and all that kind of stuff that we don't have. But you can drive. We almost never have to drive more than 2 hours to get anywhere from Ames up, or even Kansas City, any of them.
Yeah.
But you just got to make that first 5 to 6 hour drive to get out of Texas. Right. But man, I would love it if we had a circuit that you could run where you're hitting a different town, a different market, but it's just never really taken hold. It's like you've got Austin pushing out into San Marcos and places like Duets and all the stuff going down Martindale.
And that's kind of the scary thing is because I have a feeling that within the next 25 years, Austin and San Antonio are going to become one city. Like,
right.
I mean, I think it'll probably end up being like a DFW type situation where when everybody says they're going to Dallas, it's going to be like, okay, you're really going to DFW because it's going to be one of them situations. Because
we fight that out in Fort Worth when people are like, when musicians say they're in Dallas, we're like, whoa. Sound, bring the lights down for a minute.
Right.
And it's funny, like St. Paul and Minneapolis are like that, the fighting cousins, out there. So, but I love those markets. I just wish we had something like that here, or even in the Northeast. You can go from, I'm going to Boston actually next weekend for a little private event. But it's kind of like you can still, every place you hit up there, you're 2 hours.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You can hit Connecticut. I mean, you can hit these states, and it's like in Texas, I love it when bands coming from like California that come across, like, we drove 18 hours and we still haven't even gotten across the state yet.
That was the first time I ever made like my first cross country trip from Texas or through Texas.
Right.
I was going down to Florida because that's where my parents were at, and I drove through Texas. Whatever, it was fine. On the way back, we were entering Texas from probably like New Boston or something. Like Florida, you kind of do that weird way around. And my mom's like, "Oh, cool. So you're almost home," because I was living in New Mexico at the time.
Right.
And she's like, "Oh, cool. You're almost home." I was like, "No, we've still got 14 hours."
Yeah, exactly. This in Rhode Island we're driving into.
Right. It's coming from Chicago. It's like, it takes 2 hours to get from one side of the city to the other, like depending on where in the city you're at. But Texas is a big ass fucking state. But
it is until you drive it and you're like, and I'm going 80 miles an hour and I'm still not even close to anything. How is this possible?
Right.
Like you could drive across Germany and France faster than that,
Yeah. But I mean, that's how a lot of the Texas musicians, they make their living in Texas. And it's like, I never really understood how that was possible until you sit there and it's like, oh, because they could make a 2-month run around Texas and never wear out their welcome.
That's the funny thing too, because that's what I envy the most about Texas musicians. I mean, really, our band, my guitar player Taylor Tatch, he's got a studio down in Fredericksburg now. He had it before. He was in Dripping Springs before. He had it in Colleyville. I met him right out of college, and he started working in the studio. But he and I have kind of come from the same, like we just really grew up listening to this British version of American rock is really all it is. It's their version of the way they interpret the blues. I've always loved that tone, the tones of the guitars, the sound, the way they write songs. It's like heavier feel to it, a little darker sometimes feel to it. And he and I both grew up in that, but it's like, I was like, this next album we're going to record, we're going to start actually in about 2 weeks, we're coming down.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to sound like it's the same song, same structures, but I want to sound like a Texas band. I don't want to sound like a British band that's from Texas. You know? And so we're working very hard to bring in, like, you know, tonight we've started working with a fiddle player, and we're gonna be recording some pedal steel and some other stuff. We got him Aaron Wynn down there. I'm really looking forward to it. So
nice.
Finally getting my Texas creds, because it's like I want to do that circuit, those little small town markets. I love small towns, playing small towns.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like it is so fun to come in there and be the only person. I mean, I found the same thing in the UK.
Yeah.
Is like people, the smaller town you get, playing in London, nobody cares. There's a million. The Spice Girls are playing, I think, 30 nights a week there. Who cares about me, right? But man, you get up into like Edinburgh or get into Glasgow, and it's like there's a band from Texas coming here, and they're like, oh man,
let's do it.
They want to, and they listen, like they don't want anybody to talk. They tell everybody else to shut up. They paid £5. They're listening.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you been to West Tech, like the city West?
Oh yeah.
I love that city. Like,
but I never played music or anything. Is that what you mean?
No, just like in general.
Yeah, heck yeah. Absolutely.
They've got some of the best food there. Like you go to, I love West. It's
by the way, speaking of, I feel guilty because it's the first time I didn't stop because we hit the Buc-ee's before we got there because I was low on gas. I wonder if the battle is going to wage. But when I went through there, it still looked packed out. Looks like it didn't hurt at all.
Yeah.
Thankfully, because.
Oh, you're talking about the Buc-ee's in Hillsboro or whatever?
I guess it is, yeah.
Yeah.
We went there. I felt real slutty, I'll be honest, but I did it.
I have a love-hate relationship with Buc-ee's.
Oh,
it's like if I'm going there to go to the bathroom and grab a drink and whatever, it's fine. Like a drink and a bag of chips or whatever. But if like I need to actually eat a meal and then you're paying $13 for a freaking sandwich, it's like I'm good. You know?
I mean, it's a good one-stop shop. You can get a barbecue grill, a lazy boy recliner, redo your wardrobe, get some eyebrow waxing kits, you know, everything you need, with a pulled pork sandwich and every energy drink I didn't even know existed, like some kind of witchcraft magic, you know, stuff that probably would kill you to drink it.
Right. So we got Sean Russell here. Like, it's so funny. We've been talking for 10 minutes already, and I still haven't introduced you, but
that's all right.
I'm glad to sit down and chat with you a little bit. How do you feel like your set went tonight?
You know, it was good. I think it went great. The guys that, you know, playing, we've kind of like gotten into a good pattern, especially after coming through Nashville and playing just, you know, like one of those deals where we've done our road shows now for this last album and gotten them packed in together to where we really kind of get honed in, you know. So it felt good from that standpoint. I was like, we're gonna be leaning on the rock side of this set list and everything like that, but you know, people were receptive, and you know, I love it. I thought it was a great set.
Nice. How'd you get introduced to Dustin? Did he reach out to you, or did you guys reach out?
I reached out to him. I'd met some of the guys who put it on last year. Some of the guys who volunteered last year. And they had told me about it, and I saw Grady Spencer and and I was like, man, I want to do that because I've got an RV, a trailer I got during the pandemic. And coming down camping is one of my favorite areas around here, going camping around this area. So we set up, I really wanted to be down there. And ironically, my wife got pulled away and was out of town and couldn't come down here. But I was just, it's one of the most beautiful spots to camp in Texas, I feel.
Yeah, oh yeah, I love it. Every year I come here, it's, fuck, man, I love it.
Yeah.
Are you staying all the rest of the weekend, or you got to...
We're just staying tonight. We got to be back in Fort Worth for a festival that's happening up there tomorrow. So
it's probably the same one that Cameron Smith is.
Same one Cameron's doing.
Yeah.
We both felt guilty. We were like, well, they waited a little later this year to let everybody know. So I was thinking I was gonna be down here for the weekend.
Yeah.
So we got gypped, and then we got stuck in traffic on the way down.
Oh yeah.
So
was it in Austin? Be honest.
It was. Well, this funny thing is we were on that bypass coming down. So if you're coming down 35 and you're trying to make it to San Antonio, do not miss the San Antonio bypass. But this time it routed me off of it because that's how I've avoided that traffic in Austin every time. But something terrible must happen because they routed us across through the most backwoods way I've ever driven in my life with that trailer. It's a little sketchy.
Yeah, that's how it was. When I was coming down on yesterday, I was like, okay, I'm going to get out the house by 8, go fill up the gas tank, get on the road by 8:30, fill up the gas tank, go pick up some provisions and whatnot. 8:30, my dad calls me and I missed like 3 turns.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was taking me out to 35 because from my apartment to come down here it takes me out to 35. I was like, okay, cool. But the Dollar General that I go to is out a little bit of ways.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, we're gonna take you some backwoods way that I missed, and I was taking myself out to 35, and it added like 45 minutes to my trip, and I'm like, damn it, okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's nice, especially when we're talking, telling stories, and road stories, and then you hear Waze beeping, trying to tell you better turn around. And you're like, damn, we got to exit, turn around. But then you pull up around a corner, especially again driving a trailer, and you're just seeing nothing but brake lights. You're like, oh,
yeah,
it's gonna be a rough stretch.
I mean, that's Austin in a nutshell right there. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna lie.
I live in the city in Fort Worth. I would say this: if you're really staying out of the city, if you're a musician, you're mostly playing in cities. Then you got to fight all the traffic.
Yeah.
But being in the city, if you're going to be in the city, is like we don't ever get stuck in traffic anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, Fort Worth traffic has it every direction.
Yeah.
But we live in the city, like just on the west side of Fort Worth, and so for us, it's like we can get on our little scooters, drive across town, or park in it's easier when you're in the city. If you're going to be in the city, live in it, because man, living in the burbs and driving in and out of it made me crazy in my 20s.
Right? It's one of those things. Once you're in the city, it's just kind of like it's easy at that point.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you know where to park, you know all that shit.
Oh yeah,
you're good.
Yeah.
But no, that's cool. So, as far as you and the band, what's kind of the plans for the next 3 months, 4 months? Yeah.
Well, so I'm an Army vet, and I got accepted this. There's a program. I didn't really tap into a lot of the veteran-related stuff. I'd heard about it, but Zach Brown's a Marine, and he's got a ranch in Fayetteville, Georgia.
Okay.
They've got a thing called Warrior Song they do every year. And he allots his ranch for a lot of different veterans projects. Some of them are related to soldiers dealing with PTSD and family issues. And I mean, they do a lot of stuff that's therapeutic. This particular thing, though, Zach Brown basically, gets his contacts and his people, his Nashville people.
Yeah.
It's like, we want you to give one day for Veterans Day weekend. Let these vets who have been working out there, give them a chance to pitch songs, work on the songs, hone it, kind of connect with each other. And, help some of the people who need some help, just to reconnect. Because, you get out of the military and it's weird. It's like you don't realize how alone it feels after you've been in an environment like that. You don't feel like you belong to anything.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that on Veterans Day weekend, and then going to take that momentum from that songwriting and clearing up those songs and go down and record them down in Fredericksburg at Taylor Studio. It's called Audio Styles. And he's got a beautiful studio and place so you can, destination stay about 5 minutes, 10 minutes maybe outside of downtown Fredericksburg. So I'm looking forward to that. We've been writing songs together for probably 20 years now. So it's quite a collaboration. Sometimes we think too much alike, and it's like we instinctively go to the sound that we know,
Right.
We're going to be working with.
How do you find your way to kind of break that cycle?
Well, I was going to say, this time we've got a songwriter named Jonathan Terrell.
Yeah.
If you've got to hear his music, he's a great songwriter he lives in Lockhart now.
Okay.
He writes for he's written songs for Silverado and Mike and the Moon Pies and those guys, and then Midland, some other bands like that, and I think he just got through playing some shows with American Aquarium and touring around. But he's just a great songwriter, and I've always liked, he's just a good melody writer. Nice. I think some people, even if you write in a pattern, it's like being a good melody writer. That's kind of his thing. But he's also got a gravelly voice like I do, so I figure he can help steer my songs into what I want them to be.
He kind of understands where you're coming from.
Yeah, because he writes what I hear in his songs. I hear like if the Gin Blossoms or something like that were writing country music, or if Tom Petty was writing country music, that's what he'd probably sound like, or that's what he'd write. So I like that slightly more melodic thing that he does, or the way he writes his songs. So him being able to kind of bridge that and also reach the type of audiences he does with his music is kind of what I'm hoping to do.
Nice.
So let him drive the train a little bit in the studio. So
I feel that. If anybody wants to check out your music, any of that fun stuff, where's the best place to find you?
You can go to cutthroatfinches.com. That is a real bird called a finch. You know, it was going to be, we're either going to be firetail finches or cutthroat finches, and I think we did well with cutthroat finches, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of sounds like a pirate band, but we're not.
Oh yeah, fair enough. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you texted me because I would have missed that email. Or you sent me your number. I would have. Anybody trying to email me right now, good luck. So
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Sean, really appreciate it.
You bet.
And we'll catch y'all later.